I'm at a point right now where a lot of the things that I've set out to accomplish with this organization is happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So you got to keep on fueling the fire.
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah. So it's going to free me up to kind of be creative a lot more.
Yes.
So the original thought was, let me take a break on doing art the way that I'm doing it. Let me start this organization and be a part of transforming the ecosystem that I can participate in later.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so now the ecosystem, it's a machine now. You couldn't stop it if you tried now.
Welcome to CompasScope, guys. I'm your host, Coach Kesey Keys, back again for another episode. I got a good friend of mine here, Kevin King, So we're going to talk that talk. We're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it raw. We're going to keep it relatable. Y'all already know how we do this. If you are new to the channel, welcome to CompasScope once again, where we deep dive into the interconnected pieces of the mind, body, spirit, and soul. We tell inspirational stories, and we just come together to just share tips for you guys to create a better life for yourself and become more and more of who you feel like you are supposed to be. So without further ado, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, definitely. How you feeling tonight? I'm feeling good.
It's a cool night.
Yes.
As the older people say, I had to put some sleeves on my own.
Okay, that wind is blowing now. That wind is blowing. But let's go ahead and get into it, because I got some good questions. I'm ready to get in your head a little bit and learn more about just how you created this, all of everything that you've done. I don't even know how long I've been knowing you. It's probably been over 2 years, maybe even before then, that I first came to King Canvas and met like the whole tribe. And like I've told you over and over again, like I will never forget about like the impact you've personally had on my life because of the space that you have created for creatives and for artists, just a whole nine, and the things that you've done for this city, man. So let's go ahead and get into it. Tell the people a little bit about who you are. I know you've done a lot of things, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and tell the people. Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama. I grew up doing art, but it was around 17 years old, and some well-meaning adults said, "Kevin, pick a real major, get a real job. You can't make any money doing art." I tell this story all of the time, and so I stopped for a while. Ended up getting married, and my wife at the time really encouraged me to get back into creating. And so around 2013, she told me that she was taking away my excuses for not creating. And she and my daughter purchased me some art supplies. I just started painting in 2013. At the time, I was the social director of Common Ground Montgomery. That's also located in the Washington Park community, probably 3 blocks away, so where we are right now.
Oh, wow.
So it was a youth organization. And we did a lot of after-school programming. We moved into the community because we believe in being a part of the fabric of the community for the purpose of neighborhood transformation.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did, and so that's what led me to Washington Park. But as I started creating, I got contacted by a young lady by the name of Tracy Howell, who I guess she must have seen some of the artwork that I had been posting, online at that time. Just growing up as a sketch artist, but now being introduced to painting and paint for the first time, she invited me to be a part of this art show that was at the Capital City Club downtown called Artists on Tap. And Tracy said, "I need a bio from you." And I said, "A bio?" I said, "I've only been painting for 2 months.
Wow.
Kevin, I need a bio from you." And so that was my bio. And Kevin King, I've only been painting for 2 months. I published that in the booklet, and it was pretty funny to me. But I saw just a diverse group of artists there in that particular space. But I noticed outside of Tracy's event, from my vantage point, I just didn't see Black artists. Right? Now we were all around, but a lot of the events and the shows and the exhibitions that I would go to, and the gallery receptions, I did not see Black people. Too many Black people at the time. It's changed now. And it's changed with all of the, a lot of the entities in Montgomery.
Yeah, the impact that you've had and the influence you've had as well, for sure.
Well, and I believe that I was the direct impact. I believe, like I said, there was a lot of other things going on at the time that I had no clue of. I didn't know about Frank Harding Village Gallery at the time. because I wasn't in the art world in Montgomery. But I think that Village Gallery around this time was probably closing, and so I kind of missed that era. And I hate I missed it because I hear people talk about how dope Frank and the Spot was at Village Gallery during that time. The Statesman now is.
Okay.
That was Village Gallery back then.
Okay.
And so by the time I came on the scene, I didn't have that. I knew Tracy. I knew Michelle Browder, who invited me to be a part of events that she was doing. And I met artists like Milton Madison and Kara Carson. Kalonji Gilchrist was starting 21 Dreams at the time. And I noticed that Kalonji, he had developed a space. He had a gallery at 540 Clay Street. And a lot of the artists, matter of fact, all of the artists were dope. But there were artists who were a little bit further along in their skill set. And, I said, man, how can I reach artists who are like me, right? At this time, it's about 2016, 17, and I had been playing for a while at this point, and I had done a couple of Traces events. And so I said, okay, I was 3 people in this scenario. I was that high school student who was told to pick a real major, get a real job. You can't make any money doing art. So I went to school for mechanical engineering instead at Tuskegee University, trying to figure out how to use my art. I was also a person who just allowed life to happen. And I eventually got back into it, at the prompting of my family. And so I'm trying to reach that person who allowed life to happen. And they need to be encouraged to get back into art. They need that cheerleader. It's a guy in the back right now. He's the third person, a person who did not know that they were creative, and they're doing it for the first time. We saw Dre Corn walked up in there, and he's like, hey, man, where the canvases? While y'all doing this, I'm about to paint. So he's back there in the studio painting. And so I run across those people all of the time, and my job is basically not only to encourage them, but to also to be able to provide a conducive space for them to create. Because at that time, a lot of the artists were just making those comments like, hey, it's a lot going on in the households, too much noise. I need a creative space. I need a space that I can come into and just sit down and be inspired and create some art. And it just didn't happen like that. I just didn't move over here and just open the space. I got introduced to this concept called Creative Placemaking, which is basically the process of using arts, culture, and design for social change and for physical change. And I like to say Creative Placemaking utilizes the arts as a conduit to address issues of community and economic development. And so when I went to this conference, I was like, yo, you got all this data that the National Endowment of the Arts put out. And if arts and culture are literally progressing cities like this, at this rate, why wouldn't it be able to work in a community like Washington Park? And so you had that. You had just the exposure to all of these art entities. And shout out to my boy, Anthony Thomas, with Urban Dreams Fine Arts Center. And I started around the same time. He has a dope space over there on Court Street, right across from the Cloverland Shopping Center. But I said, if all of these people are doing this all over the nation and it's actually working, why wouldn't it be able to work in a community like Washington Park? And so, we just posted up with the art studio, the small art studio we've been in. But we had a greater plan that we are unfolding right now. And the goal was to activate vacant and abandoned spaces in economically distressed communities. This community was disenfranchised due to the interstate system displacing 1,400 families. This was over 50 years ago. Displacing over 1,400 families. If you owned your home at that time, you got an average of $3,000 for your home. If you did own your home, a lot of those people at the time were able to, who were displaced, were able to move into public housing in Gibbs Village. And so, and other people went other places if you didn't know. And so, ever since then, from my understanding, as I speak with the elders and the griots in the community, this community economically died in a lot of ways. It's not totally dead. You have British Barbecue around the corner that's been there for 70+ years.
There's some great things.
And they've never had a bad day. All of that time. You know what I'm saying? You have Barbagal's across the street. We have businesses on Oak Street now, other businesses, barbershops. It's another restaurant, G-Mars downtown, down the street. I think with me, I want to show that we can take a physical space in a community that's deemed undesirable and make it desirable. And in our attempt to do that, I recognize that there were no larger scale murals around the city welcoming people to the city. You know how it is when you go to Atlanta, anybody that's been to Memphis or other places. Right. There's always that huge mural that has that city's name on it. And we find it, we take a picture in front of it. That's proof that we've been to that area. And most of the time, we don't just get back in our cars and drive off. We look around and we see what else is around here. Exactly. This artwork is here. What else is around here? We buy food. We buy merchandise. We may buy some art, whatever the case is. And so I said, how can we do that? How can we bring people back into the community to spend money? Now, we're not talking about outsiders coming in to buy homes and gentrifying the area. That ain't what we're talking about. But we're talking about bringing people in to spend money because we're on the 7 of Montgomery March Trail, 2 blocks from Campsite 4 with Dr. Martin Luther King, Harry Belafonte, Nina Simone, Samuel Davis Jr., and a lot of other movie stars and actors that were at the Stars for Freedom rally. And when they marched from 7 of Montgomery, that was to find a campsite. The next morning, they got up and they marched to the Capitol. That's where Dr. King delivered his address at the Capitol on voters' rights, which was a major catalyst in our Voters' Rights Act. And so that's why we're here, because we're on the trail. And as you can see, we're renovating right now. That studio got way too small. Y'all are damaged. People are bumping one another. I've even had artists say, Kevin, I want to come and paint at the King's Canvas, but it's just too crowded.
The community, which is a good problem, a very good problem. You already have touched on so many things I want to ask you about. That's why I'm like so intrigued. Like, okay, tell me more. Oh yeah, for sure. We're gonna get into it soon. And like I said, dang, like that was one of my biggest things, like because I'm raised and born from Alabama, Troy, Alabama, even smaller than Montgomery. So for me, I related Alabama with like small-minded people, country town, not a place for creatives, not a place for people like me that's just like diverse and open-minded. We don't like to put ourselves in a box and we like to self-express and all these things. So post-COVID, like me moving back home just because it was a smart move, I was like, got to a point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to be depressed, but in a sense, it's like moving away, experience Tuskegee, so many people from all across the nation, to then move into Atlanta and experiencing all the diversity, all the different type of people and people that, I feel like I can relate to. Right. Moving back to Alabama, I'm like, bro, my people is not there. Like, I'm going to be a loner. It's just going to be me. And I remember coming out here the first time. And before that time even happened, I prayed to God, said, God, like, send me my tribe. I know I'm not the only one. And regardless of what the stereotypical mindset is of places like this, I know there has to be other people like me. And I remember I came here, I want to say when I really connected, John Boy did the event here, right? And I was doing photography and videography for him. And that night, just from meeting your community, all y'all creatives and painters and singers and performers and entrepreneurs, like just the whole nine, I met at least 20 people, and I'm not exaggerating. It's just that one, I'm like, oh my God, I was so overwhelmed with joy, like what? Yeah. And to be able to come to this one inclusive place and to be able to get that, and to be around people that not only inspire you to continue to do what you do, but to branch off and paint. As y'all see, we got some beautiful artwork here if you want to shout them out.
Yeah, so I want to, and it's a lot more than this, but I want to shout out Kirby Tolls. I brought the Kendrick piece in because Kendrick surprised us today and dropped a project that's really dope.
Yes, sir.
I haven't gotten past song 3 yet. I've kind of rewinded it, and and so that's why shout out to Kendrick. And Elena Rogers is very creative. She goes by Rooster. Right, that's her art name, Rooster. And so this is a mixed media project she's done Just really dope. And she sings opera too. She's really dope.
All right, that's what I'm saying. Like, there is no limits to just the people within this community, the things they do. I don't think I've met one person that's just say like, oh, I do this and that's it. Oh, I just sing.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's always, oh, I do this and this and this and this and this, and I'm finna start doing this.
Right.
Like I said, we're always inspired to like continue to just grow in creativity and self-expression to find other ways to, like get our message across. So like, that's amazing within itself. But also, I want to ask you how. Well, I think you touched on it a little bit, but maybe you can give me a more in-depth answer of what made you want to get to the business side of things. As far as I know, you've helped these guys like learn how to capitalize on their business like never before. Mm-hmm. I want to say, I don't know what show it was, but I know you've had a few pieces on a live reality show, like in a Mentor or something, on a few shows. Mm-hmm. Y'all doing murals downtown, like y'all get pieces. You travel out of the state, out of the nation, across seas to advocate for artistry and the importance of it. So like, tell us how you got on even the business side of things and took it from not only doing it yourself, but expanding this across the world and not only bringing more income in your pockets, but also other people as well.
So it's funny because all of this goes back to a friend of mine by the name of Chase Fisher. Mm-hmm. So when I got exposed to this concept of creative placemaking, I was at Common Ground, and he used to help me with some things over there because I had these small groups that we used to lead. And at some point, he said, "All right, Kevin, you're an artist now, and you're about the community. I think you'll like this conference." And so I went to that conference. But during that time, the King's Canvas wasn't even a thought. And so I was just, doing my work in the community, co-leading this organization with the team. And I was painting, I was doing artwork, and I was selling art. Chase also said, "Hey, I think you'll like this class." A guy by the name of Boy Stevens started this class up last year. A few of us have taken it, and I think it'll help you learn how to take your art and monetize it. Mm-hmm. And so I met Boy, and now he's a really good friend. He's my business mentor. We speak often, probably every week, maybe a few times a week. Mm-hmm. And so, I sat in this class, and that's where I also met Kalanja Gilchrist, who runs
Okay.
And so, it was a small business startup class. Mm-hmm. And the principles that he taught were foreign to me. I'm used to dealing with, products and services, but he helped us retrain our mind to problem solving.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because people don't care about your products and services. They care about their problems being solved. Mm. And so it just, gave me the mindset to think about business a little differently. And as I took his class over and over and over again, I think it was probably the same, because it was just so much information. Yeah. It was just hard for me to receive it all and understand it. And so I would take his class over and over and over again. Probably around the third time, I took it second or third time. I said, you know what? I'm going to try to implement this on my art. And I think at that time, it was January 2016, I started painting weddings.
Wow.
And I started getting so booked to paint so many weddings, I had to double my prices because I was like, I got to stop being booked so much because I don't want to be at people's weddings that I don't know every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting paid, but it wasn't any fun. I was like, okay, I need to up my prices. Once I did increase my prices, I got booked less, but I made more.
Exactly.
And I met a lot of great people too.
Yeah.
And so between painting those weddings and selling my original art and doing commissions, I saw how much money I was making. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm making this much money. And I'm only doing this part-time, maybe once a week, on the weekends. Not even every weekend. I said, what would happen if I did this full time? And I started doing the calculations, and I was like, man, I could probably live off of this. And I think it was right around the time the King's Canvas started. And the King's Canvas hadn't started yet, but we were incorporated. We didn't even have our 501c3. We had a holiday market at the Crest building when the Crest was open. They didn't even have lights in it. They had string lights all over the place. My wife at the time had an injury, and I needed to make an extra $1,000. I put together like a lot of stuff and went to this holiday market, and I made $1,000 in 2 days.
Wow.
Because medical expenses are a beast.
Oh yeah.
And so I looked at this entrepreneur thing and I said, we don't have to starve our heads artists. We just need to figure out what problems people have and how to provide those solutions.
Yeah.
Right? And so at that moment, I said, I can do this full time and implement these business practices that I'm learning from my partner, Boyd Stevens, or I can start an organization. I can help create an ecosystem, possibly teach other people how to do that. And that nonprofit organization could be my full-time job because, coming from a nonprofit at that time, I was probably 10 years in nonprofit work.
Yeah.
And I took a little bit of the fundraising tips that I learned and transitioned it over to what I'm doing now. And I said, okay, I can live off of, Mother King's Canvas salary. I can possibly do some art on the side. Because, as an artist, if I'm trying to be a full-time artist, I don't have time to advocate for people for real.
Man,
my bills have to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Me completing that next piece, or me paying my bills is contingent upon me completing that next piece and selling it.
Yeah.
But as a nonprofit organization, executive director, it can kind of give me some breathing room because I have a salary coming in, and I can take the things that I've learned and I can help slowly implement this stuff into the ecosystem. And I think with the way that I operate, a lot of people don't know that the things that are happening now are nothing new. Like, these are not new ideas. These are ideas that I've had back in 2017. Wow. The unfolding of the business stuff and the spaces. And we have other stuff coming. Even this space right here, I knew with Creative Placemaking, once spaces got activated, I knew people would come along and want to put businesses into these areas.
Exactly.
And so we are in a future home of Valiant Books. Valiant Books on Oak. It's run by Fred and Anthony Brock, who has our boys' school downtown, Valiant Cross Academy. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so, as far as just the business side of it, it was being exposed to those classes, and it was actually implementing this stuff in my personal art journey and being successful at it. But, at the same time, like, the King's Canvas was birthed out of that class too, because I used the same science from that class, and I applied it to the King's Canvas. And it's funny because where Rebello is now, there used to be Co-works 46. That was a co-working space that Boyd Stevens used to run prior to it being a restaurant. So I heard that a restaurant was coming a long time ago, years before it even happened. And so the King's Canvas was actually birthed out of that building. Boyd sitting behind me and me nervous to write on the whiteboard, making sure that I get the categories right.
Wow. How did you balance, or did things just work out? Because I know personally, trying to be a creative and trying to also be the face of the business, it can get overwhelming, and it takes away from the fun of being a creator sometimes, because you're like, okay, how can I generate more revenue? And, so it's like you can't even fully sometimes get into that space of being creative because you feel like just something like pushing your back, like, we got to get it done. We got to get it done. We got to break through this threshold of like having to balance a 9 to 5 and being an artist, or a business owner and being an artist, whatever the case may be, that balance that you're trying to find. So what was that balance like for you?
I'm still trying to figure that out. And I'm not doing a great job at it. Thankfully, the job that I've created for me and for a few other people who work for us, it's not a 9 to 5.
Right.
There's a lot of freedom in it. I have a board. It's me. I have a full-time executive assistant. Shout out to the Shalisa. I have a bookkeeper on contract, and I have a development consultant on contract. And we had an artist on contract, but now a lot of us transitioned to work for that particular school that contracted us out to send artists. And so you're right, I'm doing the business side of this nonprofit organization, but I don't have a whole lot of time to do art. Now, over the years, I've done it. I've been at shows, but I haven't done half of the art that I would have done if I hadn't started the King's Canvas.
Right.
And so I think for me, that's a sacrifice that I'm kind of making. But at the same time, I don't think that I prioritize it well either. Because as a creative, after I get done with all of this business stuff, sometimes I just want to, decompress. I want to go hang out at Baristas and Barristers. I want to hang out at 23 Court. You know what I'm saying? I want to be at the Crest of Map 360, just hanging out.
Right.
Because I've kind of done all of this stuff.
All this work.
Sometimes I don't want to be cooped up in a, studio painting.
Right.
Now, shame on me as a creative saying that out
loud. I understand because it comes into a job sometimes. It takes away from the fun out of it.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to get back to that. Yeah. Like I'm literally trying to get back to that. I've been doing a lot of digital art. I haven't released a lot of stuff that I've done, but I've been doing a lot of digital art just to kind of keep the creativity going.
Yeah.
But I don't think this year I've done nearly as much. I think this has been like the roughest year in terms of me actually picking up a brush and creating some art. I've done it a couple of times, but I'm really trying. I'm at a point right now where a lot of things that I've set out to accomplish with this organization is happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So you got to keep on fueling the fire.
Yeah, it's happening. So it's going to free me up to kind of be creative a lot more.
Yeah. So I guess think about the long-term goal too, because if your mind is already like, okay, I'm doing it so that I can create more time, then it's worth the sacrifice because you just know it's going to be for
and that was the original thought. That was literally the original thought. The original thought was let me take a break on doing art the way that I'm doing it. Let me start this organization and be a part of transforming the ecosystem that I can participate in later.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so now the ecosystem, it's a machine now. You couldn't stop it if you try it now. Our art is just making all this money. No, people are struggling. And I don't know if you were on those emails that Evan Milligan sent out about the entrepreneur class that's coming up. But my boy, he does a series of classes, and we just
I need to get on
had a few artists that took it recently, and another one is starting up in January. So I'll make sure you get
let me know.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay. So let's go back to the areas in the community, the Black community specifically, and low poverty areas as well. How do you feel like being a creative and being an artist has, one, impacted the community, and two, will impact the community, not just for here in Montgomery, Alabama, but across the world? Because as we know, like gun violence is just, man, it's getting crazy out here. Yeah. So what part do you feel like being a creative plays in the community and making it better?
I feel art puts people in a position to kind of set their mind at ease, and creativity allows people to channel, and you know this better than anybody, being that you are who you are. But mentally, it puts you in a different space when you are allowed to be creative.
Right.
I remember being at Common Ground before the King's Canvas was even a thought. Having easels up there and painting. And some of our roughest children who used to give like the volunteers a hard time. I say the volunteers because most of the time they didn't give me a hard time because they were, but even some of them that did, like those were the most quietest in those rooms at the time, because they were able to channel all of the things that they were going through into their creativity.
Exactly.
So I definitely think the person who's directly engaging in it as a creative, we have data out there that shows that, it does lower the crime rate. Yeah. It keeps people out of jail. When people are able to be creative and engage in the arts. And so, but for those who aren't creatives, I never will forget. I tell this story a lot too. A lot of my stories I tell over and over again because it's just a part of the story. As we were sitting here, there was a 18-wheeler that bagged up across the street. Mr. Julius owns that piece of property across the street where he parks his 18-wheeler. But he lives on Sierra Street behind our building, on the next street over. He was sitting out in front, sitting out in the truck one day, and I walked over there because we had an event. And a lot of our community members as far as nonprofit leaders, business owners, and community residents, we all on a group chat together. And so he sees the group chat, but he never responds. So I don't know if he saw it. So I walked over one day to remind him that we had been over here, and he kind of had this frown on his face. And I said, Mr. Julius, what's going on, man? We got an event coming up. You all right? Yeah. He said, Kevin, this neighborhood was dead, but now it's alive. Then he flipped over his wrist and he said, this neighborhood had no pulse. Wow. But now it does. He just shook his head. He said, I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. I never thought I'd live to see this. Yes. And so for me, that's what it does to the community. And for
Give it life.
It gives life. Yeah. And it's a slow process. We did not get here overnight. Right. And, we won't get out of this mess overnight. We know there's a lot going on, but I do think those who are community leaders and who are willing to not be afraid to come to communities like Washington Park on the west side or King Hill on the north side where my homegirl Cassandra Sanders is. It's a lot of people that's putting in the work that know people in the community that's doing work, My boy Jameer Brown was at the house the other night. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of people are trying to figure out solutions on our side. I know that there's multiple people. I know we have law enforcement. I know we have court system. Richard Williams over there at the Beacon is doing some awesome work throughout, in the court system. And I don't think people shot him out enough. You know what I'm saying? He's doing some pivotal work with the people who's graduating through that course and people that he's actually putting to work, because guess what happens when people actually have jobs and they make money? They ain't got time to go out there doing crazy stuff, especially the 18 to 25-year-olds. And so I think Richard is an example, a living example of that, somebody that's doing the work real time. And that's just one way. But arts and culture definitely puts people in a position to enhance their quality of life holistically.
Oh yeah, in every way. And being creative is so many different things. It's not just painting or singing. It could be cooking. It could be poetry, whatever. Anything that's an idea that's brought to life is what I feel like is being creative, because you literally created something from nothing, right?
Absolutely.
So So a key thing that you said that stuck with me is how you even got into it, because I think a lot of us, even myself included, was raised, and my mom always told me music is not a job. That does not bring in income, and that's a humongous reason why I even stopped being a creative for so long. Like literally when I left high school and went to college, playing the piano was out the door, like all of that. And sometimes I kind of have like a little bit of regret, thinking like, dang, if I would have stuck with it, ain't no telling where I would have been. So, mom, of course, she did the best. She only spoke from their level of knowledge, right? But what would you say to people that do want to be a creative, like, or do want to take that on as a full-time thing, or pursue it as a, as a full-time thing?
Yeah, I would say just keep creating. And I know that's a general thing to say, but I would say whatever your craft is, learn everything that you can know about it and seek to perfect that craft. I would say get a business sense, learn business-wise, everything that you need to know about it, so you won't be taken advantage of.
Exactly.
So avoid a lot of the pitfalls that people avoid when they don't do their research and study. Right. You have to be a student of what you're doing. Yes. You have to literally study. Like even when I'm painting a picture, a lot of people, especially my socially conscious, paintings, I have a sketchbook, and it looks like it's like some sort of notebook. It looks more academic than anything, because I've taken so many notes. I've done so much research before I even put a sketch down. Right. And so, and I would say the same for musicians, for dancers, for culinary artists, for literary artists. Just do your research. Now, I would not encourage people to step out on faith and quit their jobs if they can't live. Right. Because it ain't nothing fun about stuff. There ain't nothing honorable about that.
Been there, done that. No.
And so I would say, just get a job. Work that job. Save that money and put that money towards your goals.
Yes.
To fund yourself. Don't be out here starving and not having what to live and not knowing where you're going to eat, not knowing how you're going to get from point A to point B because you don't have transportation. Right. So I would say work. Yeah. Because if a man don't work, he don't eat.
Come on. Hello.
Or woman or whomever.
Okay.
You don't eat.
Yeah.
So eat.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't give up the craft.
Most definitely.
And aggressively pursue that.
Yes.
And figure out who you can get connected with, what mentors you can get connected with that can help you achieve those goals.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's facts. I'm right there with you because I wouldn't be where I am. I'm not where I want to be at, but I wouldn't be able to buy all the cameras and the mics and the lights and, etc. All this gear. Some of this stuff costs hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars. So it's like I had to have a job to invest in this. I'm not finna wait for somebody else to do it for me, So that's why we here. I'm creating my own opportunities, And when people see the seriousness, what you're willing to invest in it, not only your time but your money and in every other way, people will take you seriously. So most definitely, I agree with that.
And I would say education too, and I'm not talking.
That's huge.
Higher education is good, and I would not tell anyone not to do that. If that's your situation, right. Graduate, get that degree, utilize that degree. But even for some of those, some of us who are older, who probably, some have probably done that. Some of us probably haven't finished college. You may be in a different season of life, and that's not what you can afford to do right now. There's other ways of educating yourself so that you can actually learn how to grow in those areas where you can be able to scale your art, whatever your art is. Yeah.
It's a lot of information out there. YouTube University, that's my favorite place to go, okay? Webinars, conferences, get out in your community, do your research. I would have came across y'all and you see how many people that I've met in the city. Like I wouldn't know majority of y'all if it wasn't for me taking the initiative to get on my computer, get on my phone, looking at, okay, where's the next networking event? Where's the next business event? Like, getting my face out there so that people know me and they know who I am and know my brand. So that's important as well. Like you said, like not only having that mentor, but finding people that's also on have that same vision in those same fields of interest as well. So having those accountability partners. I loved it. Yes. So we're not gonna hold you up too much longer, but what's some advice that you would want to give to just people out there that's listening to the things that we're talking about and they're like, man, there's something I can relate to. It resonates with me, but I don't know how to get started.
Something I can relate to. I don't know how to get started. I would say, ask around. That may be general too, but we all need mentors. And I would definitely align myself with people who own the same thing you own. If you're a creative or if you have a love for whatever it could be, just fill in the blank. I would say, like, in a genuine way, try to connect with people and learn as much as you can learn. And honestly, sometimes people don't want to give away the game. And I feel like, especially those of us who are older, I'm 46 years old. We have to stop being like that. It's like, I don't mind telling people whatever they need to know in order to succeed. And if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. And if I know a person that I can point you in the direction so you can build a connection with, we also need to utilize what I call our social capital to be able to connect people with people. So people can thrive, because we don't just want to be out here surviving. We want to see all of our people win.
Exactly.
So I would say get connected to mentors and get involved in anything that would allow you to at least get started. And I would just tell people, even if you don't have that yet, just get started.
Just do the thing.
Right, just start doing it. Just start doing it. And I think oftentimes when people see you doing it, people take you more serious, because we all are accustomed to people who are always talking about what they want to do.
Right. Right.
And year after year, hey, I'm gonna do this. So I had this idea, but the idea never come to fruition because we've never taken the first step to achieve that.
Exactly.
Goal, right.
Exactly.
What's step one?
Right.
Let's figure out what step one is and let's complete that.
Yeah.
And while we're doing that, let's connect with people who are a little bit further along down the road.
Exactly.
And let's be humble enough to say, I don't know everything, but let's learn from these people. And for people who have the game, I would encourage them not to be selfish. There's enough out here for everybody.
Okay, it
There's
really
enough out here for everyone.
Yeah.
So, humble yourself. I would tell someone who has the game. And mentor someone else and train someone else up so they can also be
drop that seed. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Planting that legacy. And I go even deeper on something that you said when you said finding your people. Depending on what that thing is, go to events that cater to those things. If you want to be a chef, there's people that has cooking classes. If you're a musician or a singer, start going to live performances. Look online. It's people performing in different bars and clubs and lounges all the time. So put yourself in these places and don't be scared to put yourself out there and connect with these people. Tell them, oh my God, I love what you're doing. Is it more of y'all? Do y'all have jam sessions? Do y'all just get together and paint? Do y'all just be kickbacking? Because, get in those places. Figure out where those people be at. And once you connect with them, and like I said, I can vouch for this just from being at the King Canvas. Once I found my people, I was locked in. And now I'm meeting their friends and their friend and their friend and their friend. And now we 50, 100 people deep in at this point. You know what I'm saying? So once again, I'm super grateful for you. Like, I just want to give you your flowers. Like, for real, you don't even know the impact you've had on me. And I'm sure so many other people. Previous to coming here, outside of performing in the church, I probably performed 2 times in Atlanta before I moved here. When I came here, I'm back playing the keyboard. I'm singing again. I'm performing. You know what I'm saying?
You're doing excellent too.
Thank you.
I love
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, back create, take my business more serious, networking, overcoming social anxiety, which I've talked about a little bit before, and because you got to be hungry for it, and having fear or having a fear of rejection, more specifically, that's not going to do anything but hinder you. So before we end this, let's touch on that for a second, as far as how the self-work impacts your ability to be not only creative, but to be a leader or influencer.
Well, I failed today. I failed miserably at that. I'm 46 years old.
What?
Yeah.
The influence you have? No.
I'm just saying, so sometimes we can have influence. Sometimes we can be creative and we can kind of impact others around us when our own life is falling apart. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, facts.
And so, I've been in therapist since February.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, but,
it's a lot.
Well, it's long overdue, I should say.
Okay.
But I had to do it when I was ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, for me, I think just kind of meeting with my therapist like twice a month, and at one point, I was like, I have so much impact, we have to meet every week. And I met with him the other day, and I think it was the first time that he said that it went as well as it did. And it seems like it was some growth. And I don't really like talking about this junk out loud for real, because it's such a buzzword right now. And it's such a it can appear to be such a fad, but I think it's important. And I think that was one of the first times I didn't feel like weighted when I came out of it, because there's some things that I just kind of let go. And I think some behaviors that, I've kind of changed. And so I think when all of that is on us, as a creative, it's tough to be creative as well. But even coming out of it, it's like I felt a lot better, but also it put me in a position of, I guess, to be freed up to even be more creative. I'm saying that because I went home. I was working on my iPad, and there's a few things that I was able to kick out. And I think I was previously a block.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like I say, I'm not the poster child for it at all by any means. Like, I'm a poster child of someone whose life is an absolute wreck, but who just managed, by the grace of God, to get some good stuff accomplished in the past. And for whatever reason, God is still allowing great things to happen, even in the middle of it. While I'm trying to figure out, how to realign myself. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, now it's getting a little bit too personal.
That's what we like. That's what we here for. Keeping it real, raw, and relatable, baby. Yeah. But yes, I appreciate you sharing that and just sharing, just that bit that you did and just being real with us on how the journey has been. And like you said, God's grace, because for some people, it don't always work out like that. Sometimes you got to do the work, Like I know for me, one of my biggest things was fear of rejection. And if you're scared of being rejected, you're not going to go out there and ask somebody to even buy your service or to believe in you, So that's something I personally had to work on and work through to get to the point of putting myself out there and not be scared of someone saying no to me, right? So I love that. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, though. Yeah. Once again, thank y'all so much for tuning in to CompasScope. Y'all stay tuned. Y'all already know what to do. Subscribe, like, comment. Let us know what was your favorite part of this, what you got out of this. Let us know if it impacted you or inspired you to go back out and be a creative or whatever the case may be. And until next time, peace, love, and blessings.